Welcome to Mental Health Matters. I'm Dr. Audrey Tang.
And I'm Judith Crozier.
And this is the show where we talk about all things mental health and well-being. And it's very special because, as you know, we have moved on to podcast as well, which is great because it means you can listen to it whilst you're in the car and you don't have to watch us if you don't want to.
It's really exciting, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's nice. It's a nice progression, which is brilliant. So that's thanks to you guys for watching and listening and wanting us to move it onto a podcast as well. So we have done that. And today we are talking with Aimee Rebecca. Now, she's really young. When I say young, in her 20s, but such an inspiration. And the show is all about living your best life.
Fabulous.
I wish I'd known that in my 20s.
Exactly. I wish there'd been podcasts around and we could listen. And I mean, I used to read, I don't know, the Cosmo or whatever at the time, and that's fine. But shows like this are brilliant for that. And if you have somebody to get inspiration from when you're in your 20s, which is, it's the time when you're kind of learning who you are, really.
Yes.
Then that's just really so important. So,
because I don't know about you, but what I remember a lot about being in my 20s was I was just always worried about being criticised or judged or...
Yeah, absolutely.
And I couldn't even think about what my best life might even... I thought that was my best life.
Exactly, and you're so worried about what you're doing, the future, etc. You forget sometimes to learn just to be, and just to be happy where you are. And I wish I could go back and tell my 20-something-year-old self that. But
even then, it is still not too late to do it now.
So no, it isn't, no.
At our age, as we're getting into our 50s, we are still going to be learning from Aimee Rebecca, and let's meet her. Aimee, it is such a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, you are such a vibrant ball of energy. It's just already, I can feel the vibes through the telly. It's lovely. Yeah. And I'm going to start off by saying, and this is going to sound really condescending, and I'm so sorry, but you seem so young to have had a massive revelation about focusing on what's healthy for you. But I've seen your Instagram and I love it. I love what you're doing. I love how positive you are. I love how you focus on being in the present. How did you get to this space that you're in now?
First off, thank you, because that's a huge compliment. Honestly, I went through a bit of a rough patch in 2020, didn't we all?
Yeah, true.
But up until that point, I didn't realize that I'd really been focusing on kind of the wrong things. I had what you would call the picture perfect life. So I had a really lovely job. I lived in a luxury apartment overseas. I had this amazing fiance. I had, when you looked at my Instagram, I looked like I was living this influencer lifestyle. And then it all fell apart. I called off my engagement. I moved back home with my parents. I didn't have a job. And I realized that all of my sense of self and that all of my happiness had been based on these external things. So none of it was coming from me. And when I lost all those external things, suddenly I didn't know who I was anymore. And so I really had to begin the process of figuring out, number one, who am I? And who do I want to become? And how do I learn to love myself for myself and not because of my job role or who I'm surrounded with or what I own?
Yeah, But that is a huge self-reflection, which many people, even much older, just don't get to. I think this is absolutely incredible. Do you mind me asking, because I think we'll unpack it later, but how did you start? I mean, did you have to get to sort of rock bottom, or were there just little things that you just started to do for yourself?
Yeah, so I hit what I like to call the basement of rock bottom, where I was really, I can look back at it now and I laugh about it, but at the time, my mental health was in a really bad place, and I couldn't imagine being happy again. I couldn't imagine what that would look like for me. And I set myself one random Tuesday afternoon, I said, you know what if by this time next year, my life could be 1% better? What if I could just be not miserable? And so I set myself the challenge to do one positive thing every day for 365 days, just one small action. And not only by the end of the year was I not miserable, but I was the happiest and the most confident and the most fulfilled that I had ever been, just from one small positive action a day.
That's amazing.
This is incredible. And what you're saying makes so much sense, because we've got practitioners on the show who will always say, when we think our life is horrible, we've actually lumped the whole day in together with this one event. And actually, if you break it down, there was a rainbow, or I jumped in some puddles in some wellies, and that was fun. And there's these, and what you're saying makes so much sense, just to do that one positive thing. So what have you discovered about you, the real Aimee, so far?
I think one of the biggest things I've realised is that most of the things I believed about myself were lies. I always used to say things like, I could never be a morning person. I could never be the kind of person who goes to the gym. I could never be the kind of person who, you know, even sitting here talking to you guys, a few years ago, that would be inconceivable to me that I would be able to do this. But I think we tell ourselves so many lies about what we can and can't do. But once you start doing it, you realize, oh, actually, the only thing holding me back was my own perception of myself.
And there's a beautiful post on Aimee's Instagram where you're cycling. It's a sort of a very nature-based one, and you talk about this, that you just always thought you weren't the sort of girl who would do this, and you're not even being the sort of girl who's doing it. You're just doing it, and that makes a huge difference. And
it's such a high level of self-reflection and self-awareness. I think it's amazing. I'm loving this discussion already. So what have you learnt about how you face challenges, and how will that support you in the future?
I've realised I'm the kind of person, I'm an overthinker by nature. And I've realised the best thing to do is to just do it, whatever it is, and then it's done. Rather than thinking of all of the reasons why I can't do it, or it won't work, or maybe I'm not good enough. If I just do it, then I can't, there's no excuse, it's done then. And I went skydiving a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
And I always think about that moment sitting on the edge of the plane, being ready to jump at 15,000 feet and thinking, I can't do this, there's no way. And then the next thing I was falling through the air, and it's like, well, it's too late now, I've done it. So I kind of apply that to anything that seems scary in my life, and just say, any opportunity that comes my way, if I just accept it without thinking, then I've just got to do it, and then it'll be done.
Again, such important words. It's just do it. And I do get how hard it is, though. But then you listen to sort of Aimee's earlier advice, which is just do one little thing. And then you get used to doing something and taking action, which is just brilliant.
It is brilliant. It is just all brilliant, everything you're saying. I love it. So apart from jumping out of a plane, what was one of the most transformational experiences that you've had so far? I mean, if you do have another one.
I have a lot. I've packed quite a lot into the last few years since I changed my mindset. But I think one of the biggest things that has been most impactful was, so I like to do one truly terrifying thing per year, hence jumping out of a plane. And last year it was entering a beauty pageant, because I couldn't think of anything that made me feel more physically sick than the idea of having to get up on stage and everyone's looking at me and I have to make sure I don't fall, and you know, everyone's eyes are on me, and then you have to go through an interview, and that was terrifying. And I said to myself, just sign up, and then it's done, you have to do it. And that experience, that whole weekend, ended up being one of the best weekends of my life, probably. And since then, I've continued to be a pageant girly. I'm now addicted to the pageant life, because
I've heard that happens.
It brought out the best in me, and it made me kind of realize I'm capable of more than I thought. And this thing that was I felt like I was going to be sick. I was so nervous. And then I did it, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm capable of that. I did that. So I've loved that experience, and I'm still loving that experience.
Amazing.
And it also sits so nicely with giving you almost an additional platform to share you as an inspiration, which is incredible, because this is exactly what women need, is to see that somebody not just is going out there going, oh, I did this, but to actually take it back with your story, you had to build up again, and you have. That's beautiful.
That's where the inspiration comes from, absolutely.
Totally. And we are keeping you, Aimee. We'll be back just after some top tips from our resident experts.
When we're looking at the body, we know that the cells are changing all the time. So, you know, if you're looking at your gastrointestinal tract from your mouth all the way through, that's changing every 6 weeks. And so some of the cells that we've got in our body, it will be years before they'll actually turn around. But some of the cells do change really rapidly. So we can have an impact very, very early on.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean, so like you could say, I've lost 10 years. But if you start today, you can't go back. But you can actually make a difference in the next 3, 4, 5 years going forward. So that's one thing I'd say. Don't ever think it's too late.
Okay.
You know, if you're 70 and you've been a long-term smoker, or you've just eaten lots of fatty foods or things like that, making the change, it will actually probably feel awful for a good while, because your body will be like, oh, what are you doing? As the cells start changing. But you can still have a healthier life and see the benefit of those. So I think don't ever think that it's too late.
Okay, that's really important, actually.
That really is.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And I never remember my dad, he gave up smoking when he was probably 65, and he said he's never felt more ill. But that's obviously why, because he was regenerating.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really interesting.
And to move past that, so the time that it's not so great, and then I know I say it on every show, but get community, get people who've been there before, and they know what it's like to go through that really challenging part and come out the other end, and people who are going to support you in that journey, because it is a journey.
Yes.
And, you know, there are going to be times that you just feel like, I want to have a cigarette, or, you know, I want to just binge on cakes or things like that. And just having people around you saying, I felt like that. It's fine. You can get over it. You can move on. And then the other thing I'd say is to give yourself permission, not with cigarettes. I don't want you to start smoking. But I know, because I obviously deal a lot in nutrition. But if you want to have a drink, or you want to have a pizza, or you want to have a burger, now and again, it's okay. You know, I've worked with so many people that are terrified to, once they've stopped eating a certain thing, to have it, because I'll get the craving for it and I won't be able to stop. And I totally get that. But having some things now and again, it's life. And that's actually the enjoyment of life, rather than putting all these restrictions on you and you know, being so hemmed in. So we can actually change our biology by the small things we can do. And I think part of that is having enjoyment in life.
Welcome back to the show, where we're talking to the really lovely Aimee Rebecca about living your best life and loving yourself, and it's a really inspirational chat. And what's so positive about your approach is that you're not trying to influence, you're just being yourself, and you're living life for yourself, which then that's where the inspiration comes from. So what do you hope that people take away when they look at your Instagram, which I'm going to do straight after the show, by the way?
It's brilliant.
I can't wait.
I follow her. I love her stuff. Seriously.
Thank you.
And I'm not just, sorry, I'm just to interrupt. I'm not just saying
I can tell.
because I do unfollow a lot of people.
I know, and I do see you like my posts, so I appreciate that.
You're great. You really are. It just brings that joy to the day. It's lovely.
Oh,
So thank you.
I think a lot of content now that we see people putting out feels aspirational in a way that is, it almost makes you feel bad about yourself. Like as if my life is supposed to be envied by other people who don't live that life.
Yeah.
And it can make people feel really badly about themselves. And so I'm very much open, honest. I will, especially on my TikTok, sometimes I think, wow, that is a bad angle. I've got no makeup on. I look like a hot mess, and I've just had a panic attack in my car, but I'm going to post it anyway because it's real. Because ultimately, my whole message is, I am just an average girl. I am just average. And anything that you see me do or accomplish, or anything that you see that I'm doing and you think, oh, I'd love to be able to do that, you can, because I have. And I am no different from you. So my lifestyle is very ordinary, very average. You know, I work a 9 to 5. If I can do this, so can anyone. And that's the message I want to get across.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful. And that's so true, because I think you're right. A lot of the sort of posts I've unfollowed it is very much as if they're trying to make you feel bad about your own life. And you know, you'll never do this,
yes,
or you'll only do this if you make 6 figures or whatever. And it's not. Everything else, the things that really make your heart sing, you can go for a walk, you can go for a bike ride, you can call your friends, and it's important to remember that.
It is. I think it's easy to forget that. When you're having a bad day especially, it's easy to forget that, oh, I could just walk down the road and I can see any number of things that would just make me happy.
Yes.
So
yeah, and I think we're kind of given this idea now these days of like what a successful life looks like, like a tick list of things, and a lot of those things are really unachievable. Like you say, like a 6-figure salary and a really fancy car, and you don't need any of those things to be truly content with your life.
And that's a really important message, even at our age. To make a small comparison, one of the things that a lot of researchers are reacting against now is this idea of the above average senior person. So it's the 60-year-old who's run 5 marathons. Yeah. It's the 60-year-old who's gone sailing around the world. And there are some, and it's amazing, but that doesn't help you when you're 50, 60 to just live a good life.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
a big reaction. So Professor Sharon Hinchliffe, she's been talking about that as well a lot. And so I'm really, again, grateful for you to bring that conversation up, because it's facing a lot of generations. You just see this superwoman or superman, and you just think, I can't
yeah, exactly. It's as you say, you're a normal person, you're an average person, and most people are. That's why we're average, and it just kind of makes us think, well, then we could do that too. Yeah. So that's, at the bottom line, that's the most important thing, isn't it, I think? So why do you think that we, as people, hold ourselves back? And from your perspective as well, so Generation X, we have many rules. We're kind of brought up in a different way maybe to younger generations now. So it's kind of sad to see it in younger generations. So what for you creates barriers to living life to the full?
Fear. It's just fear, so much fear. Fear of making a mistake, fear of looking stupid, fear of going down one path in life and then realizing that's actually not what you want to do, fear of people looking at you and making judgments about you. I think a lot of us are just so held back by fear in as many forms.
Yeah.
And I think it's just about realizing that, yeah, sometimes you're going to make mistakes. I do regularly, and sometimes things aren't going to work out, but so many things have happened, so many incredible things on the other end of something that was terrifying to me at one point.
Yes.
So if you can just learn to kind of push through the fear and know that it's not going to hurt you, then I think you can gain a lot, because the idea that you don't want to ever do anything scary, it means that nothing's ever going to change.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. And sometimes thinking, well, what's the worst that can happen, is the sort of the ultimate push that's going to get you to do that, because really nothing's that bad. Well, jumping out of a plane, the worst that can happen is bad, but
yeah,
with other things, maybe that's.
So just on the topic of fear,
yeah.
Actually the fears you've listed are really real fears.
Yeah.
And they're actually fears as teachers we were taught not to instill in young people, as in, you must choose your path right now, even though you have to choose your GCSEs, which inform your A-levels, and so on. And yet, when you get older, you start dismissing it. You start going, oh, you've got nothing to worry about, you're young. And that is awful and condescending and not helpful. So really, what are some of the real issues you are recognising with your generation that actually some of us need to be a bit more sensitive to and aware of?
I think, even within the last kind of 5 years, the situation has changed so much because of social media. Yes. So this constant comparison game, I mean, look, social media can be a really positive thing. I do a lot on social media, and I think that hopefully I influence a lot of people in a positive way. But I also know that it can be massively destructive. And as it becomes a bigger part of people's lives, which it is when you see people with their screen time of like 6+ hours a day, it becomes really difficult for younger generations to feel like they are normal. Again, going back to that idea that like I am just an average person, I think because we are fed so much content from influencers living those perfect lifestyles, it's very difficult to then look at yourself going out to work in your 9-to-5 job in your broken down car and think, well, what have I done wrong? Why doesn't my life look like that?
Yes. And when we talk about influencers or just people posting on social media, it's just the highlights reel.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
one tiny aspect, and that's why it's kudos to you and the others who post real images, real experiences, because we are all going through something. Aimee, this is a really brilliant conversation. We are going to keep you, and we're going to be back just after some tips from our resident experts.
I guess I work with people to give them permission as well. So yes, we do have to be accountable. Yes, it is a choice. But I always recognise it's hard. You're enthusiastic at the beginning. Then day 2, day 3, it becomes harder. So I know it sounds a strange thing to start off with, but recognising it's not going to be that easy. And then you don't fall into that pitfall when it does become hard of thinking to yourself, oh, I've messed up, I can't do it. So actually recognising it's not all going to be plain sailing. And then the second thing is that I see people who achieve what they want to have got some kind of support. So it could be a family member, it could be a group, it could be, an app on the phone, but they have something that helps them not be on their own. So when you're having a bad day, you've got somebody to tell, if you need some encouragement, or it could be somebody educating you and helping you along. So get some support. Don't feel that you have to do it on your own, because you don't. There are people out there that can help you. So I think that's it. That's really important. The third thing I'd say is go slow. We're all like, yay, it's not even January, but yay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, climb Kilimanjaro and do all of these things. You start training, you're going up a hill and you realise you're not oxygenating your body. I've got lactic acid. It's not as nice as I think. Oh, I'm not going to do Kilimanjaro. Maybe I'll do Snowdonia. And then it goes down and down and down. Oh, I'll go to my local park, because it's hard work. But if we go slow and we think, right, okay, I'm just going to walk to, the end of the block, if that's as far as you go, or I'm just going to do 5 miles or however long it is, and then build up slowly. And then every time you do that, and this is the fourth thing, really reward yourself. Tell somebody. And it's so funny, I always say this, reward yourself, but not with chocolate or with lots of sweets. You can do, have a cake or something like that, but reward yourself with something that makes your brain recognise that this has been important, you've done it, you've celebrated. We all know cognitively what that does for us, to actually feel, I've achieved. You want to do it again. You want to do it again, rather than, oh, I didn't do it, I'm a failure. We want to be positive on there. So I'm not going to say, do all of these really huge things. Keep it small, keep it simple, and enjoy it.
Welcome back to the show. We are talking with Aimee Rebecca, and it's a brilliant conversation on how to live your best life, but not in a, I'm an influencer way, but in a real, she has shown so much resilience and turned her life around in her 20s.
Yeah, it's amazing.
To just be present in life. And I think that's the key message. It's about being present and living life, not just sort of
existing,
hoping a wand will happen and suddenly things will change. Because I come back to people I coach, people I train as well. it's almost, people will say, oh, if I just do that, I'll be happy. And it's kind of, no, you need to start putting all those other things in practice now. And it starts with just doing the one thing, to remember you have agency to do it. And on that note, it's so easy for, I guess, practitioners and people to say, oh, you know, let's just do this or just do that. How would you prefer to be supported when it comes to dealing with some of the issues? So, you know, when you were at the basement of rock bottom, which is just such a great phrase, and it paints that picture, what would have been most helpful? And if you don't mind me asking, what was unhelpful?
I think when you are caught up in your problems and it can feel very lonely. And I think the first thing that a lot of people want to say is, I know how you feel, or I have been there. And a lot of times that may be true. In hindsight, you can look back and say, oh yes, lots of people experience very similar problems. But when you hear that in the moment, it's very annoying, because you think, no, you don't. No one knows how I feel. Yes. No one understands what I'm going through. Yes. So I think instead, just having someone hear you out and just give you the space to talk through what you're experiencing. Yeah. And then, you know, it is helpful to give advice, but it's not, sometimes it does come across as condescending of, oh yeah, I've been there before, been there, done that. And so rather just giving someone who's going through a hard time, just give them the space to air out what they need to air. And then, yes, give advice, but maybe just say something like, do you know what? I know that you will feel better. Because that's the number one thing that I was panicked about during the basement of rock bottom period of my life, was this fear that I would never feel better again. And so all I needed to know was, it's going to be okay. I didn't need anyone to tell me how or what to do or what, you know, exactly what that was going to look like. Just, I am here to listen to you and you are going to be okay. I think that's enough.
I think that's absolutely spot on, and a lot of people can learn from that, because all of this advice, it comes from a place of love. Of course it does. And you want people to feel better, but what you haven't done is exactly what Aimee said, is you haven't held space for people to have the right to feel they are on the basement of rock bottom, because they are. At that moment they are, and we have to give them the space to be there. And it is that sort of, you know, I'm really sad you feel that way, tell me more about it, or just giving them the space to talk. It's just so important, so important.
It's really great advice.
And through that, you have got this beautiful, beautiful approach of not just improving how you feel day to day, but falling in love with who you are. And that's so important. How did that change happen for you?
It was very gradual, I'm not going to lie. When I started, I didn't even like who I was. I didn't really even know who I was, but I knew that I didn't like her. And it was really difficult. I worked with a really great life coach at the time, and she said to me, every single day, 10 times a day, you need to tell yourself, I am enough just as I am. And when I first started doing that, every time I would try and say it, I would just break down in tears because I didn't feel it. And then slowly through I call it my This Time Next Year challenge, my doing my one positive thing a day, I slowly just began to think, okay, well, who do I want to be? You know, what kind of person do I want to be? Do I want to be the kind of person who goes out and meets new people? Do I want to be the kind of person who takes up a dance class? And I slowly started to put the pieces together of this kind of best version of myself, which, by the way, is not a perfect version of myself, and kind of recognizing that you can work on being better while still recognizing that you're never going to be perfect. I think that's really important. But just working on loving myself for where I was, and also working towards being the person that I wanted to be. It was a combination of both those things.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Is this choice taking me closer to my future self, or is it actually holding me back?
Yeah.
And that's really true when it comes to things like setting boundaries as well, because if I've said yes to this other thing, have I just held myself back from doing the thing that I really want to do? And I think it's so important to have that self-awareness, because I don't think, again, we don't do this. And just before we introduced you, Aimee, we were having a chat about when we were in our 20s, and now we can sit here and go, oh, I wish I'd loved myself more when I was young.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's never too late to start now, but what would you say to somebody who is always down on themselves, whether it's a pattern or a habit they've fallen into, or whether it's because they're heading towards the basement of rock bottom, what might you say to them that is supportive, but again, not projecting everything onto them?
I think sometimes, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, we can feel like once I cross this arbitrary finish line, I will feel better about myself. Once I lose 5 pounds, once I get a promotion, once I have a new car, then I will feel good about myself. And the reality is, you need to start feeling good about yourself for where you are. Because once you start to love yourself, then that is when you start to accomplish more things, because you have more confidence in yourself, you're more willing to push yourself out of your comfort zone, and that's when more opportunities will come your way. So rather than waiting for good things to happen to you so that you can love yourself, start by loving yourself, and then more good things will happen.
That's such great advice. And so, and again, simple, but it's something that I think we need to be told a lot so it sinks in, or we need to read it or whatever, but it's something that we need to know and live by.
And actually, just before you say, because I know, Aimee, you've got a diary or a worksheet or something to help people, haven't you, on your Instagram? Do you mind just sharing a little bit about that? Because I think everyone now really wants to get that.
So I just launched, it's called the This Time Next Year Life Planner.
I love it.
And essentially, while I was going through this whole process of trying to rebuild myself from the basement of rock bottom, I had no concept of where to start with that. So I just started making myself little worksheets and little journaling activities that I could use to keep myself accountable and keep myself making small, sustainable changes. And so I took that and I turned it into a life planner. So it has, I'm a Virgo, okay, so it has, number one, all you need for your planning needs, monthly, weekly planner, habit tracker, all that stuff. But also it has all of the worksheets, the journaling activities, the reflection activities that can actually help you change your mindset and make small changes. It's not about, and I have to stress this, it's not about becoming the best version of yourself tomorrow. Because if it was that easy, you would have done it by now. It's about recognizing the small things are what's going to add up to make a big difference over the course of a year.
Oh, I love that. I think I might go and get that, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Thank you. So for yourself then, what do you do for your own well-being?
So my favorite thing has become going to the gym at like a crazy time in the morning. And I never thought that would be me. And some days I wake up at 5:30 and I think, who have I become? Because I just never thought it could be me. But that giving myself that time in the morning where I get up, I go to the gym, I don't talk to anyone because for the first 3 hours I'm awake, I am a zombie. But I get that workout in, I come home, I just have a very peaceful morning where I ease myself into the day. It just sets me up for the day. That has become my morning routine now. I just feel like I love it so much, and I never thought I'd be like a morning girl. But now that is like the perfect start to my day.
Wow.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah. And again, that morning routine can be anything for you, just anything that gets you set up for your day in that positive mindset. Whether it's just gratitude practice whilst you're lying in bed, there's so many things that I think the morning can be underused.
I agree.
And can I just say, just going off that, like I always like to stress that just because something works for me, it doesn't mean that everyone else has to go out and do that. Like I always say, you don't have to get up at 5:30 to go to the gym just because I get up at 5:30 and go to the gym. Like just find what works for you and do that. There is no one size fits all. There is no tick list of what the perfect life looks like or what fulfillment looks like, because we're all very different.
Absolutely, but what it illustrates really, really well is that you never thought you could be a morning person. And not only are you a morning person or more than you were, but you get up at 5:30. I mean, that's the middle of the night to me.
And it's wild. I don't know how I got here.
But it's, again, inspirational.
Yes,
it's amazing.
Yes. And then also, if those things change for different reasons later, whether it's age, whatever it is, it's okay. You find your new routine.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
It's brilliant.
So what's your next challenge? And you've mentioned your Instagram. How can we find you, follow you, and watch what you're going to be doing next?
So my big new challenge for 2026 is going to be another pageant that I have entered.
Oh,
so I'm going to be competing in Pageant Girl UK in June, which I'm very excited about. And yeah, if you want to follow along, I've got my Instagram and my TikTok, which are both _Aimee Rebecca. And then I've also got a YouTube channel, which is just Aimee Rebecca. And I share personal development, intentional living, and dream chasing type content all over that.
Amazing, thank you.
Brilliant, and all the very, very best
Yes.
with Pageant Girl. That is
Thank you.
Brilliant, and please just continue to spread your sparkle everywhere, because this is fabulous.
Yeah,
it's just
amazing.
such a great way to really kick off the second month of 2026. But happy Valentine's Day to you as well. Oh gosh. Aimee, it's been an absolute pleasure. Please come back on the show again and tell us how the year has gone for you. So we'll do maybe a 6-month check-in.
Yeah,
It'll
lovely.
be brilliant.
I'd love that. And thank you so much for having me. It's been so much fun.
It's been amazing. Thank you so much. And we will head over to Test the Trend. Say something on this Test the Trend, and this challenge is something that our other practitioners have used a lot, but it never hurts to have a reminder. Get curious and ask why, instead of going straight to, oh, I must look for the silver lining. And this really echoes the discussion we've had today. So often when we're feeling low, in a really down place, maybe it is the basement of rock bottom, the last thing we're able to do or even want to do is, oh, look on the bright side. And it's really, exactly as Aimee said, it's really irritating. It's really annoying when people say that. But a good stepping stone is to ask why. And it might be, why am I feeling this way? Why did I react this way? Why is that feeling so strong? Or why is this bugging me? Whatever it is, if you ask why, it opens a door to a little bit of self-reflection, even if you've never done it before. Not only that, but asking why takes you from that rock bottom feeling to a bit more of a neutral feeling, a curious feeling. Then it's actually a little bit easier to step up to the next, whether it's happy, whether it's feeling just okay. It bridges that gap. So my challenge to you this week is, when you're feeling down, don't wallow in it for too long, but don't look for the silver lining. Look for the why. I love Aimee.
She's amazing. You said she was going to be, because you've met her, obviously.
I have met her.
She's brilliant. And I wish that I'd had an Aimee when I was in my 20s.
Yes.
Or 30s, or 40s even.
This is it. It's just, she's just so, it's just the way she is.
Yeah.
And it isn't that I'm trying to tell you what to do or anything. It is just being. And I think that's something we can all learn. If we can just be, it's a lot easier to influence in many ways, actually.
Well, exactly. I think I'd much rather be influenced, in inverted commas, by somebody who's kind of been there. I mean, she's, very, very honest.
Yeah.
And she did have a really bad time. She was very open about that. So, and then she's very real about the way she kind of got herself out of it. So I think she's very, we can identify with her. I don't know if identifiable is a word. So I think that's what Aimee has, plus she's just really warm and engaging and really lovely lady, and very inspirational because of that, not because she's saying this is what you should do. Yeah,
it's just her whole vibe, her whole energy. And this is where I think a lot of us in the psychological world may be going a bit wrong, because it's all about, well, I'm telling you to do this, and there is a place for that.
Yeah.
But sometimes just by being and engaging, you actually have more effect, rather than thinking about what you're doing looks like. It's, what am I doing and how is that going to feel like to other people?
Well, yes, I think that obviously some people go to a counsellor or a psychologist because they want to be told, do this and you will feel better. That's
space.
Yes, exactly. But I think in my mind, I was visualising it, and sort of Aimee is healing herself and showing how to heal from the inside out. And I think that's the difference from kind of being shown something that you want to strive to do. Her healing, if you want to call that, or her feeling happier, her loving herself comes from the inside out.
And the other key thing, I think, is the fact that you can make that change over a year.
Yeah.
Because I think too often we think about, oh, I need to make this change and it needs to happen right now, or it needs to happen by next week, or I need to do it in 6 months' time. This is a big thing usually with losing weight. That's a bit, it needs to be by this whatever. Yes. And then you put in these rules. But actually, if it's just one thing that you do, exactly like Aimee said, to make herself feel happy, or one thing you do to reduce, to not take an extra 50 calories, or whatever it might be, that one thing, over the year, at least in the case of weight, you're not going to put on weight because you're just doing that one thing to reduce the 50 calories. Yeah. Or if you're doing one thing to make yourself happy, you're going to be less unhappy. Well, exactly. Even if you haven't got to the bit you wanted to, you will have made a change.
Well, exactly. And so that was the interesting thing, because it takes the pressure off. So Aimee said she gave herself a year, and her goal was to not be miserable all the time.
Yes.
And what actually happened was that she was very happy after a year. And that wasn't what she planned to do, because immediately you plan to do something, there's the pressure. And she just took the pressure completely away.
So on that challenge, by this time next year, what is one thing that you might do to fall more in love with you?
It is weight based, which you're not surprised to. We've talked about this. A year ago, I thought I would be sitting here a year later, svelte and everything, because I put things in place to do that. It hasn't happened, but I found this amazing health coach who prescribes, not the right word, but through the NHS. So and just after one session with her, she's like, yeah, that's why you haven't lost weight, even though I've gone to the gym regularly and I've gone walking regularly and everything else. So it wasn't working, and now I know why. So this time next year, I will, because I now know I'm on the right path.
You're putting yourself on the path for a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to, so it's weight related, but I'm going to move more as well. So whatever that might be, I'm going to do more walking, more dancing, more swimming, whatever it might be.
Brilliant.
And what about yourself?
Yeah, for me, I am going to try to stop living in fear, which I know for a lot of people who know me, they don't actually think I live in fear all the time. I do. I live in fear of doing something wrong, being seen to do something wrong, which is even worse than doing something wrong at all. It's all right if you don't get caught, but, which says a lot in itself. But I go around my whole life emotionally monitoring: have I upset somebody? Have I done something? Have I said something? And I want to channel a bit more of that mean girl energy. I want to channel a bit more of that. Do you know what? If something is wrong, someone will tell me. And until someone tells me, I'm going to proceed.
I think that's great, because you don't want to live with that guilt.
You can't. I know that's my conditioning. That's a whole other show. Yes. Not one we're going to record yet. But on that note, from both of us and from Aimee and everyone on the team, have a healthy week.